Hi folks, this is our first class exercise and I'm going to show you how to where to install some of these software, and you need to do it in this particular sequence I want to ask you to do. Let me show you with what I'm trying to explain. This is part of your assignment that you're going to work on with this as well. Just to give you some little few seconds of the background on what you're doing here is you're going to be installing what's called an IDE, integrated development environment, with it. For one of the many years that if you had any programming classes, computer sciences classes with me, or in the past with it, or any class that that I taught from C++, Java to Python with it, and you have to have some sort of text editor, all right, which is called the IDE. Now, Visual Code is one of them in the past that I used. Visual Studio is in the past that I've used. We're going to use the developing the Android app, the Android Studio in here. So that's the IDE that we're going to use for this class. One of the things that you're going to hear is another language that's called Kotlin, which is not hard to learn as well. Java has been around a long time. I think if you learn Java, you're safe with it. It's not about the programming language. I want to start out with that concept first. It's not about the language. It's more about the concept of programming. That's the heart and soul for it. Once you learn how to program, the logic and everything else works with it, you can transfer your skills from one language to another language to another language. The syntax has changed. So I'll give you an analogy. You're going to learn how to program, right? It's like taking English 1301. They teach you how to write a thesis, introduction, supporting paragraphs, conclusion, restate your thesis, etc., etc. But it never teaches you how to use Microsoft Word. None of the English 1301, 1302 classes teach you that, all right? So they don't. The teacher, the professor, the instructor never care about how you type up your paper. You have to follow MLA guidelines, I'm sure, the style guides, I'm sure. But it's more about the concept that you learn to write in there. Same thing about programming. The concept to learn to understand memory management, to understand variables, to understand loops, functions, and all that stuff. All that will be are transferable across every programming language. Now, given that preface that I share with you, in my class, in all my class, it's always I do, you do, meaning watching the video since this is an online class, and we all do it together. So I do, you do, and you watch the video, pause from certain steps with it, take screenshot, output, etc., etc. So that's how my classroom pedagogy works with this. It's very interactive. I don't like to read from PowerPoints, period, with it. You're sitting in front of a computer. You need to be able to go in and play with the computer and code with it. Okay. Now, the first thing I need for you to do in this document that I talked to you, let me just go over some things with you before we get into the installation with this. So this is your class exercise number 1. I'm not completely finished with this. I'm in the process of still putting this together with it. But just the key things that you need to understand. What is the IDE that you're going to install in here as well? So one of the things that it has what's called Gradle Base built-in support. It's like a plug-in, an add-on to the IDE. Don't worry about this yet. UI, user interface component, that allows you to drag and drop, such as radio buttons, checkbox, fields. It's really nice to use to drag and drop with as well. Google recommends that you use the Android Studio to develop all your apps in the Google Play Store as well. Third thing is the common Android design component, or there's a whole bunch of templates in there that you could use. It's very hard to use templates right now. I understand the template, how it works with it, because it's very rigid. You have to just put that in the back burner. There are templates that exist in the Visual Code. The Visual Android Visual and Android Studio that you can actually use. I keep on calling it Visual Studio because that's what I've been doing all day with it. So it's the Android Studio. Okay. There's what's called built-in support from the Google Cloud Platform integration with the Firebase Cloud Messaging. So that's like cloud storage that you can actually do with it, and it helps your apps to search better and in the search engine optimization as well. Lint tools such as catching performance, debugging, versions, and this is the number one challenge that you're going to face in this class is you can have this two same phones or two same tablets, that's Android, but they're two different operating systems. I don't know. That's the challenge that you're gonna face in this class. Is there's multiple operating system that's out there with it. There's a new one. People don't upgrade to it. Here you are coding for the new one. It doesn't work for the new one. People need to upgrade their, you know the drill, right? So it has what's called a simulator. A simulator is kind of like a interface there, what you would see in an actual version with it. There are pros and cons with simulators, I'll tell you. It's like I'm telling you that I'm going to take a blade, I'm going to cut your finger, I'm going to tell you how much it hurts. That's more of a verbal experience, a touch feeling, how much it hurts, right? And you can feel, you can say, yeah, okay, I've been pricked or I've been stabbed on my blood tests and all this stuff with it, right? But the actual feeling of getting poked or cut on your finger, it's two different things, right? So the experience that you experience on the actual hardware is totally different than through a simulator. The best we can do right now to develop this is on a simulator. My concept to you is this: practice, practice, practice. Research, research, research. Network, network, network. Remember that. Practice, practice, practice. Research, research, research. Network, network, network. Right now, we're going to practice. We're going to dive right in and practice this thing right away. All right. This is what you need to get in. You need to have a Windows 10 operating system, at least Windows 7 with it as well. I'm going to do the installation on Windows, one of these Windows operating system. 32-bit or 64-bit, either one will work. You need to have at least 4 gigs of RAM or 8 gigs of RAM recommended. You need to have 2 gigs and 4 gigs. I recommend 4 gigs. Okay. If you have a lot of music files and you need to clean up with it, any hard drive that's above 80% of its storage, it's risking a chance of crashing. So please clean your hard drive frequently, defrag it, get all this thing clean, remove all the malware before we get started. You also need to have the Java SDK, the Java JDK installed in this as well. So before we install the Android SDK and the Studio in this as well. You have a resolution monitor, just a regular screen, 15-inch screen with it. Nothing wrong with a 1280 by 800 resolution. So something bigger, the better with it as well. Okay. So I'm going to go through this thing and I'm going to walk you through. So the first thing I'd like for you to do is we need to install the Java SDK development first with it. So open up your browser. I have my browser and I want to paste this on here. So if you can type, make sure you're going to find the Java Development Kit, what's called the JDK. Okay, it has to be at least version 8. At least version 8 for me, please. Let me check the time here. I don't want to go overboard. Yeah, I'm approaching 8 minutes here, so let me stop because I don't want anything more. My video is more than 10 minutes with it. So let me stop. This is the end of the part 1. End of part 1.